definitely seen cases. It's not only a local problem for a small department such as mine, it's a national problem.
Someday love will find you.
The world has a serious dog infestation. There is a mutt population explosion crisis, and it is really out of control. Recent estimates suggest there are between 700 million and 1 billion dogs in the world. As we know, even a single dog is one too many. This is a unique species that would not even exist had it not been for human intervention, and its presence among us is far more trouble than it is worth. Take, for instance, this insane case.
People in a godly neighborhood say a pack of loose dogs has people now afraid to spend time outside. Hello, everybody. I'm Heather Hayes.
And I'm Steve Eager. It's 9 o'clock. The dogs have been captured on many home surveillance systems, once even being spotted at a restaurant. The police department says it does not have the resources to take care of the problem.
Wait, did they really just say that the police department doesn't have the resources to take care of this problem? Stop and reflect on the absurdity of that statement for a moment.
Exploiting our pain for their profits, insulting our minds with their ads.
Now, I want to talk about how absurd this scenario is, with a massive pack of these crap hounds tearing through a city. But this bears emphasis as well. Dogs really are pushed onto people everywhere. I've given examples of this sort of thing before, but have you ever noticed how prevalent dogs are in advertisements? In most places, dog owners are still a minority of the population, although they do seem to be getting more numerous, yet they shove this crap in all our faces.
Another example of dog nursery. When they place dog everywhere. Do you see? Over here they advertise a bank card. They're not advertising dog food or anything else. They advertise bank cards. Bank services, bank cards. This is what I'm talking about. This is how dog nursery is spread in this country.
That was in Russia, by the way. Then there is this.
The dog roaming crisis of New Zealand.
I was recently made aware of this documentary by Valentina. Of course, this has been reported on before.
The issue of roaming and dangerous dogs has reached crisis point in Auckland, with attacks on the rise and children too afraid to walk to school. Rob Irvine from Auckland Council says it's impounded and euthanised a record number of roaming dogs. And today it released harrowing video of a toddler being mauled in his front yard.
Two young girls, hand in hand, on their way home from school, suddenly the target of two roaming dogs. The younger girl is surrounded.
I just looked out the window and I saw a girl getting dragged, and I just quickly ran down.
Neighbours and school kids try to pull the dogs away, but they're too strong, turning on the other girl in the middle of Glenabbey Street at Marsden Park just before 3 p.m. yesterday.
She was screaming and screaming, running around, and fell down, and the dog kept attacking.
Then another boy 10 minutes later.
I want to pause and add some commentary to that last clip as well. Anytime people see videos that illustrate the way dogs go after children, it should reveal to them that the true nature of these creatures is not good. It should go without saying, but dogs are a completely different species, and they do not see members of ours as their own. Because again, they are not us, and, as dumb as dogs assuredly are, they realize as much. Only some stunted humans, for whatever bizarre reason, are delusional enough to falsely believe that dogs are somehow on a par with us. Or in other words, dogs are not equal to us in importance or quality. They are not on our level, not even close. And yet, despite this fact, and despite their wretched instincts to violently attack us on sight, some people continue to defend their presence among us. And, as we know, these beasts target those who seem most vulnerable, most frequently, but it's ultimately people of all ages who get attacked, threatened, intruded upon, or somehow inconvenienced by them. Then, there is the situation in India. This is something that's ongoing, and while I have addressed it here and there, I've never devoted an entire video to it, although one easily could. It really is an interesting case, and I don't mean to imply that it's a good thing, as it is not. And I say this because this is a country that is severely overrun with dogs. And while I'm sure there are many dog haters there is a shockingly high amount of support for the strays that roam there, aggravating human life and spreading rabies at high rates, and for dogs in general. The following text is from AI Overview.
India's Supreme Court initially ordered a roundup and permanent sheltering of all stray dogs in the Delhi region in August 2025 due to rising dog bite incidents, but later modified the order following widespread protests from animal welfare groups. The modified order mandates that stray dogs, except those that are aggressive or rabid, are to be captured, vaccinated, sterilized, and then released back to their original locations, with designated feeding spaces established. The court also instructed against interfering with the sterilization and release operations, and warned against public feeding of strays.
Now, I don't know how to say this any other way, so I am just going to say it. Why the hell don't people see that the most obvious solution is to get rid of all of them? This is a bit of a tangent, but a long time ago I shared an article on the stray dog problem across the world, and unsurprisingly, that article, while actually fairly accurate, was also way too soft on dogs. Or in other words, seldom if ever are any hard solutions offered or seriously entertained for very long, and by that I just mean effective and permanent solutions. This is a public health issue, and because of dog nutters, not so-called animal rights activists, by the way, we're stuck with these half measures and stop gaps. And let's be real. Often, there's no solution at all, and not even a compromise. Since, at the end of the day, people the world over are still forced to encounter and see or hear dogs just about everywhere anyway.
Digo, yo siento que ella es tipo muy humana, está muy humanizada, entonces quiero como que, o sea, no sé, siento que se va a dar cuenta que es su cumpleaños y se va a sentir como protagonista. A ella le encanta que le den atención, obviamente, digo.
Creo que hoy apoyamos la vinculación con animales. Tradicionalmente se podía cuestionar subir a tus animales a la cama o festejarles el cumpleaños o lo que se decía humanizarlos. Hoy, por el contrario, lo que se cuestiona es tener animales sin formar vínculos de familia con ellos.
Beso, beso, eres todo beso, beso.
Para nosotros Tai es un hijo más. Sí. De hecho, cuando en el embarazo le decíamos, Tai, vas a tener un hermanito. Va a venir un hermanito. Y a él le decimos, quédate con tu hermanito. Para nosotros es así. Sí, sí.
However, it's not all bad news. A few countries seem to have the right idea. While very few countries have completely banned all dogs, the Maldives prohibits their importation and ownership. Aside from the use of some police dogs, there are virtually no dogs, and there are no known exceptions for personal pets, service animals, or working dogs. And while there is no official nationwide ban on dogs in North Korea, ownership of pet dogs there is highly restricted. In June of 2023, Egypt banned most dog breeds, permitting only 10 specific types to be kept as pets. Some Islamic countries, such as Iran, have a strong official stance against dog ownership outside of working purposes. Many other countries, like the United Kingdom or Colombia for instance, have at least had the good sense to ban some of the bully breeds. Of course, it doesn't go nearly far enough. And as Alina has informed me via email,
Russian lawmakers just made a proposal to officially ban dogs inside any stores, dining establishments, hospitals, schools, and other public places like museums and theaters. Owners of unleashed or free-roaming dogs can be expected to pay steep fines.
Next, I wanted to talk about two cases in particular, and there's a reason for choosing these specific ones. As many who've been following the channel, or who have seen enough of my videos, will surely know I occasionally focus on individual cases, particularly in videos. I present at least a few, usually, and we should remember that there are actually too many to cover, especially if we include unreported or future cases, which we obviously cannot know about. Every single one is unacceptable, and each one is a source of untold agony and grief for all of the people directly involved. I really like what a commenter said a while back on one of my more recent videos, because it drives this point home. I read this comment out in my last video as well, towards the end, but I think this bears repeating, and it is not that long. It was posted on this video, and it reads as follows.
Just one of these cases should be enough for people to see the problem for what it really is. It dumbfounds me how they can watch these tragic, heart-wrenching news stories, see pictures of the victims, listen to the devastated family members, and still pretend this is not a major problem. So much denial and apathy going on.
I won't play the clip itself, but it is indeed graphic, and I must warn you that the next few cases, including this one, are very difficult to focus on for any extended period of time. It's definitely not for those who have even the slightest ability to detect injustice and evil, that is for sure. It's one thing to read about the details, which is bad enough on its own, and quite another to see it, even in a video. If a police officer had used a sharp weapon to unnecessarily tear open a person's face in the process of apprehending them, this would clearly be excessive force. Many would decry it for the barbarism it clearly is. But somehow, when a dog is involved, it is perfectly acceptable for them to do this. Of course, I was already aware, prior to seeing this video, just how bad these canine, dog-inflicted injuries can be, but seeing this, I instantly realized that this must happen to a lot of people, and hearing the cries of pain along with seeing the injury itself almost in real time, well, it filled me with hatred and disgust, not just for the dogs themselves, but for the officers who are perfectly willing to not only inflict this on people, but who are somehow capable of living with themselves, knowing the lifelong mental and physical scars they inflict on others, the trauma, misery, and permanent suffering. I also wanted to share this comment, which someone else posted under my share, of that video.
This has been a pet issue of mine for a while, for so many reasons. It is a clear example of police brutality. 99% of the time they are used, the dog runs in and bites the suspect, then starts shaking its head, the suspect is screaming in pain, then the cops run over screaming at them to stop resisting, generally used as a pretext to taser or beat the suspect for involuntarily flailing as they get mauled, with the dog still attacking. If the suspect dares to defend themselves against the weaponized monster, they might get shot. At the very least will be charged with assaulting an officer. That doesn't go both ways, though. When the dog attacks the wrong person, or inappropriately it's just a dog, I guess it's some progress that the victim often gets a decent payout in those cases now. This also gives cover to overt brutality. I didn't hear you say, "Don't release the dog. He was resisting." Then there is the disgusting response from nutters and hardline police supporters going on about how he's such a good boy as they watch it maul someone. If the dog gets hurt in any way, it's horrible, and the suspect deserves whatever happens to them, and if they don't and just get mauled, they also deserve it. Even if the circumstance never needed the dog like multiple cops versus a mentally ill drug addict with a tennis racket who was breaking into cars, I think they are just sadists who like to see people get mauled. It is also very clear police brutality to non-nutters in more civilized countries, but Americans lap it up like they are watching gladiators set up to get mauled by lions. The whole thing is a sick perversion of justice. I don't think they should ever be used, but I can at least understand the logic if used against a guy with a high-powered rifle taking cover and involved in a shootout. Better a dog killed than a human. But generally that circumstance is handled by a SWAT team without dogs. Dogs are reserved for situations where the risk of harm is way lower. To add insult to injury, it's not like they aren't well aware of what these things are, based on the fact they tend to just shoot people's dogs if encountered.
Then there is the tragic case of Mohammed Bar. This is a story I had posted a while ago after I saw others share it. I actually wanted to cover it before, but it is one of those that's honestly just very difficult to even think about. It is so enraging and so sad. This account is seriously one of the most heart-wrenching I've encountered. Mohammed was a 24-year-old Palestinian man with Down syndrome and autism who died after being mauled by an Israeli Oketz military dog in a Gaza Strip house. It should be understood that this was a disabled person who required assistance from family members to do many basic tasks. And not only was he brutally mauled by one of these Israeli combat dogs, he was deliberately separated from his family and left to die alone. I would be remiss not to mention that this is far from the first time something like this has happened. Particularly, this is in reference to the State of Israel and the use of these dogs, often employed by military and border police, against indigenous Palestinians. There is a lot more detail on this and the tragic case of Mohammed provided in a video documentary by the YouTuber Morpheus Christos, and that video is titled Dogs and Colonialism: The Untold Story. As several of us have noted before, dogs have an extensive use as weapons. Military and police forces around the world use them precisely because they know that dogs are the perfect tool for intimidation and control. Frankly, these dogs are used to instill terror and compliance. Another thing I want to emphasize again, this is something I've posted about a couple times before. Once, in a video, and on a separate occasion, in a community post. And I will repeat it because it is very important. This idea that dogs are something to be defended or provided for is very harmful. I wrote about a specific example, which is this thing that happens when people try to feed dogs, except that the dogs end up turning on them and either eating them instead or simply mauling them to death. That is the thanks you get from these monsters. I don't believe this case involves something of that nature. However, this was yet another person, who in this case died very young due to the presence of dogs. After all, you do not have to interact with them, try to feed them, and either be nice to them or somehow a threat as nutters always falsely say we are. All you have to do is be alive, and a dog could well decide to attack you. I don't even think it's a decision, so much as an instinct, but the point stands. All a dog has to do is see you, and it could get triggered or enticed to bite or maul someone or something for no reason. I am done hearing the bullshit excuses and the nonsense mantras like,
"Blame the owner, not the dog."
I also wanted to share this post by War on Dogs, which I will also link to below. I am not going to read it out or anything, but it is yet another example of how dogs are anything but good. The following is from a Facebook post, which was sent to me by Barkbusters, who will now do a bit of narration as well.
Please share. He was driving a and dropped him off somewhere. Sunday morning, early to mid-morning. Early, by the way, so it would have been early. Before noon. Lost. My daughter is devastated. Her POS boyfriend took him and dropped him off on the side of the road somewhere and won't tell her where. Happened early Sunday morning. Very early, by the way. Could be anywhere between ... and ... So I know this is a stretch. I do have boyfriend's location if anyone wants that. So let's go ape shit. Let's beat the shit out of this guy. But I didn't say anything, guys. Let's go. Okay, so first off, if this woman is lying, she could face real consequences. Maybe false accusations like this falls under defamation, and that can absolutely lead to lawsuits or even criminal charges, depending on the situation. It doesn't make sense that someone would openly admit to dropping off a dog on the side of the road. So to me, this looks more like an attempt to stir up drama and frame her daughter's boyfriend, either the mom or the daughter. could be making it up. So especially if they already disliked him. So, and what makes it worse is that she's giving out his name and workplace and telling people to go after him and cause harm in his life. That's not only reckless, it borders on criminal behavior. Publicly encouraging harassment like that is considered doxing. And when it's done with intent to cause damage, it can cross the line into a crime. So at the very least, it's dangerous and harmful, and it definitely shouldn't be taken lightly. And I hope that the boyfriend broke up with the daughter either way. So
basically what that was is a nutter posting something to try and get someone injured. There were many comments posted in response, just like this one here. And people actually posted this individual's profile information, and they also publicized his workplace. Main point being, some of the commenters are even going as far as threatening this guy's life. All over a claim about a dog being dumped or whatever. Some shit mutt they don't even know.